the government is committed for the IPO, for sure. It is about timing.
The oil market's been a real roller coaster over the last 3 months. That's not that unusual for the oil market, but really the change that's just happened is more dramatic than for a number of years.
Let's get more on this now with Ellenwald in Jacksonville, Florida. She's the president of the energy consulting firm Transversal Consulting and the author of the book Saudi Inc. Hi, Ellen. Good to have you back on the program. So it really is the $2 trillion question. Just when will Saudi Arabia list that 5% stake of Saudi Aramco in Saudi Arabia, but also on an international market? When do you think that will happen, if at all?
I think that it will not happen at least until 2020 and possibly later. And the real story here seems to be how far can the company push off the IPO? They've seemed to succeeded in part with this acquisition of SABIC that they're undergoing, and yet that acquisition seems even farther off as well, since it's not quite sure how they're still going to finance this acquisition of SABIC, and they don't want to list Aramco until they've fully acquired the petrochemicals company.
Part of the reservation surrounding this listing of Saudi Aramco is the fact that once it does, it will open up the company to international scrutiny, really, at least aspects of the company. Do you think that is a concern for Saudi Arabia's rulers?
I think it's a concern, but it's not a concern in the idea that they're hiding some big bad secret that they need to keep hidden. I don't think that there is any kind of big secret they're hiding. There's just a sense of they've been doing so well as they are as a private company essentially for so many years, and there's concern that taking this step will perhaps impede their ability to pursue what their real goal is. Saudi Aramco has always kept the long term as its primary goal. They've always been interested in making the most money, making the most out of their reserves in the long term. And once you're listed on a market, either Tadawul or an international market or both, there's going to be a concern of creating value for shareholders now, and they're going to be pushed to make sure that their stock price doesn't fall too much in the short term. And that's not something they've ever had to deal with. And I think that it's a particular cause for concern amongst those who've worked for the company all their lives and have in many respects focused on creating this long-term value for the kingdom.
As you say, Saudi Aramco isn't doing so bad. It's considered the world's most valuable company. Some estimates value it at around $2 trillion. It is profitable. Saudi Arabia is the world's largest crude exporter. So why would they consider listing even just 5% of the company?
Well, I think part of, and you're right, Saudi Aramco is an extremely well-run and very valuable company. It produces oil for an incredibly low price and makes the most profit off of that oil than any other company does. And in particular, if you look at the way you compare Saudi Aramco to, say, the Venezuelan oil company today, you'll see the stark differences in how the Saudis have treated their company and treated their reserves so well and really built Aramco Aramco into this powerhouse it is today. The question, of course, is that when you go and list 5% of a national oil company, there's always the question of, well, what does the government want to do? Because they're ultimately in charge, even though for many, many years, the government has essentially let Aramco function independently, because the idea has always been Aramco has the long-term interests of the kingdom at heart. But that may be changing and can always change. And I think there's a great deal of trepidation in terms of the amount of government interference in the company that could happen, particularly once it's listed on an international market.
We also know that Saudi Arabia's bottom line has been hurt by falling oil prices this year, and that's prompted OPEC and its allies such as Russia to agree to production cuts of around 1.2 million barrels a day from world markets as of January next year. Do you think that'll work to help boost oil prices?
I think it will, but I really don't think that we're going to see the effect of that for several more months, at least until April, possibly later. I think we're definitely in for a wild ride for the next month or so, and possibly more. And definitely low oil prices are here. I mean, we're looking at record production from the United States, which pushes global oil prices down. But remember, no matter what the price of oil is, Aramco is making more money off of its oil than any other oil company out there, because it has the lowest cost of production in the world. That being said, they're still essentially funding most of the Saudi budget with that money.
Okay, Ellenwald, we will have to leave it there. It's been fascinating chatting with you throughout the course of the year, and I look forward to our chats next year. So thank you once again.